Well, I've been experimenting.
And the positive to a strip over here. Now we're cooking. Hi folks. Did you ever buy something and get it and it turned out to be not what you thought it was? These are handles for the Bridgeport I'm restoring. And the original ones are just terrible looking and beat up and everything. And after spending so much time painting that thing and getting it all nice looking, I wanted some decent handles. To get them chromed was just outrageous cost. And I found these at H&W. And I'd asked her what they were plated in, and she said she didn't really know. Well, I know now. They're not plated in anything. They were just polished up steel. I mean, this was sitting in an air-conditioned room. It's rusting already. This is even worse. So what do? I could clean them up and send them off to a chrome plater here in Houston. It's going to be $80 a piece, and God knows when they'd get to them for some little lot like this. So one of the viewers suggested nickel plating. So I looked into it and saw that it was going to be like $400 for all this stuff, and I found a different way. What you got going right here is the beginning of my nickel plating experiment. Now, if you look on the internet, there's all kinds of people that have put out nickel plating, and this is not going to be a how-to type video. It's just going to be my experience in doing it. Going through all of those different videos, I also found out that they contradict each other a lot. So, what do? The best you can. One of the viewers said that I needed a copper plate before a nickel plate. Well, one of the YouTube videos says you can't copper plate steel. So I got to digging some more and more and more, and the guy that said you can't copper plate directly to steel has got a very good argument and showed some scientific formulas and chemical reactions, and then did it and then showed me how the chrome just wiped off. So I'm taking their advice and kind of going after this in a three-step approach. First off, got to get this really clean. One man even says to etch it in muriatic acid. Other people say you don't have to. Well, I'm going to get it oil-free, clean, polished up as well as I can, and then put it in a nickel plating solution, and then put it in a copper plating solution, and then finish off with a nickel a couple coats. And the reason I'm doing that was because of that one video, and I'll put a link to it here. The steel and nickel are too far apart in their properties, and it'll be coated, but it'll rub right off. So nickel and copper are really close together, so they'll bond well, and nickel bonds well to raw steel. So I'm going to take his advice and do it that way. What I've got hooked up over here, I went and got you guys some nice clear containers so you could see, is 2 nickel strips that I got off of Amazon. Cheap Chinese transformer so I can kind of see what the voltage is. Some wires and some plain old white vinegar with some canning salt put into it for conductivity. And we're at the first stage right now. I'm making the nickel solution that needs to be in place before you can put this in there. And as you can kind of see it, it's kind of starting to turn green. It's been in there for about 5 to 10 minutes, and I'm already getting a nice green tint. That's the nickel coming off and going into the solution. These are just nickel strips that I bought that are supposedly 99.9% pure. And I also bought some pure copper strips, but I don't know if it really is because it is not as tough. It's kind of hard. Anyway, simple basic stuff for under $100. I got set up to do this. Follow along. See if I blow myself up. Although I doubt it with white vinegar. I think I'll get the old grinder going and see if I can polish these things up while that's cooking. Now this is going to be loud. I got a 3-phase converter going because this is all 3-phase. Can't do nothing about it. Well, I got rid of all the rust off of it. Maybe it'll stay till I can plate it. What do you think? I think it's getting greener. Now, you need to hang this stuff with a copper wire. And I ran upstairs and grabbed some 14-2 Romex. And I'm going to get the wire out of it. Got 14 because I figured it'd be easier to wrap around the threads of this than 12 would. Let's see if we can strip some of this out of here. Use that later. I think that'll work pretty good there. I think I'm going to forego the muriatic acid and clean these parts off with brake clean. I don't know how much greener this needs to go. One person said it was fine after 20 minutes. I don't know. I also grabbed some distilled water so I could rinse it off where I stuck it in there. Now, I've got some of these clips. I kind of bent this where they'd stick out a little bit from the sides. But I think I've got it to where they're bent so much they're going to be too close to the material. So let's put these in there to get them a little tighter. That just needs bent more. I think that'll work. I need a stick. What better than a drumstick? Now, some of the people I watched doing this were doing it at 1/2 amp. Tim the Toolman Taylor would be ashamed of me if I did it at 1/2 amp. So I set it up for 3 amps. And I'm kind of thinking that my water needs a little more salt because it's gone down to, according to this, and who knows if it's right, 2.2 amps, which is still better than 1/2 amp. Now, I used to do stuff like this for telescope parts, aluminum anodizing, focusers and things like that, and it worked pretty well. So I have high hopes for this, especially at the cost. I mean, 2 big strips of nickel were like $8. $3 for a gallon of white vinegar and enough salt to make the swimming pool ocean water. Seeing as how this is a new to me process, I really have no idea how long I'm going to let it sit in there for. What do you think, 20 minutes? Once I get through with this bath, in fact, I was going to do it, I need to start up a copper solution doing the same thing. So I'd like to get at least these 2 with a thin coat of nickel on it to prevent rusting now that I've got it all polished up. This was a severe letdown. A severe letdown. But I couldn't buy any of these plated, and these were the old ones cleaned up. So if I can make this work, I can do all the parts on that Bridgeport. I don't think I'm going to pinstripe it like Stan did his Black Beauty, but if Stan's got nothing to do, he can show up and do that for us. I don't smell any harsh chemical odor. I do feel that this is getting a little bit warm compared to, but not hot by any means. We will see. Boy, did I screw that up. I'd watched one where the guy had 2 strips in here, but that's not the way you do it. You connect the negative to your part. Oh, and the positive to a strip over here. Now we're cooking. I'm going to stop that and reset it and start again. What I had seen was the man had used 2 strips connected to positive to double the spare for the area. In case it was a big long part, I think he was doing it for. Glad we didn't sit here for an hour watching this thing. Now, one of the things you should be able to see right off is that copper wire that I put in there should start to get a coat of nickel, and that would be easy to see against the copper color. Now, I've been doing it wrong for 6 minutes, but you can see that there is a little bit of coating on that. Kind of black coating, but coating nonetheless. They say that the solution could be reused over and over and over and over again. That's why I bought these containers that had these tops that'll seal. I mean, the materials are cheap. It's just, why do it if you don't have to? The amperage went up good. Went up to more like it. When I first tried setting all this stuff up, I just pulled this out of the box and started playing with it. And I had hooked it up, and I couldn't get the amps to go up very high at all. I thought there was something wrong with it. Then I'm sitting there staring at that box of salt and thought, oh my God, I forgot to put salt in it. And as I poured the salt in, the amps came up really nice. So if you don't have any amps, might have pulled a Watkins and got the salt. Well, we're at 8 minutes 36 seconds. I've kind of rotated this in. It's taken on a kind of a different silver color, not just this. So I think it's working. What I planned on doing is going to 20 minutes. See in there, it's got a lot of action. You can't see this. And I've been agitating it like this. And when I do, boy, those bubbles go all through the water column. So we're getting some plating action. Now, how do I hold this in that water without getting a line where this goes? There's no threads on it. So what I was kind of hoping I can do is hold it like this. And bend this wire where it doesn't touch anything and try it like that. What do y'all think? I think that'll work. Might need to move this one over farther. I think that'll do it. When it gets closer to time, I'll clean that all off. We'll dunk it in there. I once did some work maintenance work at a plater's in Houston. And they did everything from gold to silver to nickel. I had a telescope nickeled there once. And I asked them if they did chrome. And the guy says, nah, that stuff will kill you. Well, I'm working around their vats and everything, and I'm looking at their vats, and they're all metal. And they were all corroded and rusted and nasty looking from the chemicals and the vapors. And I'm thinking, you think chrome's bad? What about this stuff? Oh no, that chrome's worse. So I've shied away from doing any of it, actually. We're at 12 minutes almost. And I've been kind of turning this thing so it kind of face that anode, which has got black stuff coming off of it now. See the black stuff in the column there. In an effort to not let all the plating be on one side of the part. I don't know if it gets it evenly through the solution or just direct transfer. That's all I got for now. I'll bring you back. Your time is up. I'm taking horseshoe off in some water. This is the difference in the two. So I definitely say there's a difference. This is the raw steel, and this is 20 minutes, or a little bit more. The copper is definitely plated. I'm wondering what it looks like. Wipe it off. Kind of got a dark, smudgy appearance. I'm wondering if that'll buff up. We'll try it in a minute. Let's get the other in the bath. Clean it off with some brake fluid. Things about the brake fluid is it dries and evaporates without me having to touch it. That's way down in there. I was able to get you to hang straight before. What's wrong with you? There we go. Fortunately, I don't have enough stuff in there to do so. Let's try it. This is going to be the first coat anyway. Guess I could put a little more vinegar into the solution. A little more salt. I need a plastic spatula to stir this stuff. Let's go for that, see what happens. And start. It looks like it's bubbling around the whole part evenly. I'm going to move this over away from it. Get it in the corner over there. Maybe one of them cases where you need the two anodes. Have to. You know, there's no reason I couldn't have two. Let me get a jumper. Just took it up this way. Yeah, I'm seeing some reactions. That may be good. So it's got current going through here because I can see it. But my voltage has gone way down. Huh. Maybe I can kick that up some. That's amps. Full voltage. I wonder why the voltage dropped when I did that. I've tried to kick it up to higher voltage, but it doesn't seem to want to. Let's see if we disconnect it. Go back up to 11. About cuts it in half every time I try that, so we're just not going to do that. I used to use an old battery charger to do this with anodizing. And I've seen people use it in wall warts, 12-volt wall warts, 4 or 5 amps, and it seemed to work well for them. So I was thinking about finding one to correct voltage and do my copper bath in it. We'll try that next. Okay. Dark on some areas. Now, I just put it on my buffing wheel without any kind of rouge or polish or anything. I don't want to contaminate this because I'm going to go into the nickel plate next. And I don't know why it got black, because I rotated it all the way around. You would think if it came off the metal nickel strip to one side, it would have turned black or something, but I don't know. We'll find out. But I don't think this is going to rust on me now. And that'll give us time to get the copper stuff done. I'm too tired tonight. Still waiting on the handle to come out. It's bubbling away in there. And I think I'm going to give it another 10 to 15 minutes in there before I take it out. That's 11 minutes on that side. I'm just going to move the anode, which is turned black, on over to this side and see if that makes any difference. I'll bring you back.
Well, I've been experimenting. This one's the first test piece I did, and it has had a first coat of nickel, followed by a copper, and now it's got another coat of zinc on it, or not zinc, but a nickel. A few little spots right here on it. I haven't buffed it up very well, but this one's the interesting. I did the same exact thing to this one here on the left. I put it in the nickel, then I put a lot of copper on it, about an hour's worth. And then I left it in the bath because frankly I forgot about it, and I came back and it was covered with all those little bronze colored flakes. And when I went to wash it off, it totally dissolved off the whole thing. Well, this is it after putting it on the wire brush on my grinder here. Just a regular old wire brush, and then buffing it with that. got rid of all the traces of the copper, except for inside. You could see still some inside there. That looks pretty nice compared to this one. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to not put the copper back on this one. I'm going to put it in its nickel bath and see what happens with it. And I'll also put that one back in the nickel bath after I wire brush a little bit there and see what that one turns out like. So that one's got a copper undercoat, a nickel, copper, nickel. And this one, the copper kind of dissolved all off of it. And man, if I could get it to look like that with a nice chrome nickel plating, I'd be happy. So it doesn't rust. I mean, I spent $55 a piece on these handles, and they look great. They didn't know what they were coated in, but I can tell you now, they weren't coated in anything. They got a coat of oil on them now. But anyway, there's where we are so far.